Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Save Our Sisters Unplugged podcast. It is coming to the end of Mother's Month, and I am still celebrating the mamas. Today's guest is no stranger to the podcast. She gave great advice on the first season, which was the Girl Talk relationship episode. She is also the owner of Bouquets, Baskets, and More LLC. And finally, she is a phenomenal hairstylist. As Hollerin' Helen on Beauty Shop said, if you want your do did or your flip whipped, she is your girl. All this pales in comparison to how great of a mother she is. It is my pleasure to introduce Miss Sharon Robinson. Welcome again, girl.
Good morning, good afternoon. Good to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you back again. We did such good work, I feel, on the last one when we did it with oh God, Mickey.
Mickey, yep.
Yeah, we did that one with
Yeah,
Mickey.
with her.
It was
Thank you for that
awesome.
spectacular introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. You deserve it. You deserve more. You do a lot. So let's get into it. Tell us about your kids. How old are they? How are they doing in life now?
Well, I have five. The oldest is 33. He is currently working construction. This is his first year doing that with the city, and it's a challenge for him because he's normally sits behind a desk, and he wanted to go a different route this year, working with my nephew, and some challenges he didn't even know what to expect. So he's hanging in there with that. His name is Chris. The next on the list is Darius, who is 31, and
I'm
he's
sorry, can
with
you say his name again?
Keystone. I can't think of Darius,
Okay.
and he's with. I said Keystone. I forgot they got bought out by some other company, but he's been with them for some years, and he's always been in that line of work. Kyra, who is 30. And I had to think for a second. They're all lined up there. And she did graduate from MTI for medical assisting, but she is currently in the hotel field.
Oh, wow.
And yep, she's my oldest daughter, and she has my two grandsons who are 10 and 2. And then there is Nicole, and she is 29. Nope, I take that back. I'm sorry. She's 28. I'd fit if I say that. And she is in the restaurant industry, which she is managing one of the, I'll say local, but it's not that far away, Bloomington, 45 minutes away. And that was her very first job that she's been with for all these years. And she's traveled almost the whole US, opening up different locations, running the ins and outs of the whole restaurant. So she's been enjoying that for quite some time. And then last of the Mohicans is Carissa, who is 19, and she's a student at NIU, and she is getting her education through teaching. She wants to be a teacher.
Wow. That's
Hmm.
quite the litter of kids you got there.
And you are right. I got a starting five.
Yep. But they're all doing really well. So that speaks a lot to who you are and the encouragement and support you gave them to just really go out and do what they need to do in this world.
I try just a little.
So we're gonna go back a little bit before the first baby came. What were your initial thoughts about motherhood?
Um, I had different views on it since my mother was a stay-at-home mom. Like she worked up until she had my youngest sister, and then which she's 6 years younger than me, and she wanted to stay at home but still make income. So she opened up a home daycare and became licensed, and she did that for I'm pretty sure like 30 plus years. And so watching her take care of children and then like not only raising us with my dad, it was just like I saw it from different aspects of how you raise your own as you would raise somebody else's. And it was, I want to say at least 30 plus children that came through the home over all those
Wow.
years. And then when I got to be a teenager, of course, the more help she had, the more children she could take on. So when we became her helpers, Yeah, so I was like, okay, motherhood was probably okay, but it was not something I thought I was going to jump into right away. Because at first I said I didn't want any kids, and I said, okay, maybe I want three, but then I did get five.
Was there a plan for that? Or, I mean, like, the two were just two surprises.
Well, I guess you could say that, but I was married when I had my last one. So when I got married, he didn't have any, and I just tried to make sure you sure you don't have any. I'm not gonna be mad at you because we already got four here, and he did not. So we added one more to the crew. So yeah.
That is funny. So, what was your first reaction when you found out that you were pregnant? Some people freak out, and some people are like, "Oh, okay."
With the very first one,
The very first one.
yeah, yeah, I was, I guess, surprised, but I knew where babies came from, so I'm like, okay.
And you knew
So
how they
I'm
got
like,
there.
exactly. And then I had already graduated from high school when I had him. I did start school early, so I was a teen mom. I was pregnant at 17, but I had him at 18, and I was already signed up to go to college and stuff. I was already working because I had started in our co-op program in high school. So I had a first job through school at 16. So I was already working by the time I had him. So that I was no stranger to that. So it was just like,
Yeah.
okay, how do I add a child to this and still make life work?
Yeah. And a lot of people at that young of an age, I know when I was growing up, they used to really kick the girls out of school so they wouldn't be um, a bad influence on the other girls, which I thought was unfair. But,
Mhm.
what kind of a support system did you have at such a young age being pregnant?
Well, it took me a while to even tell my parents that I was pregnant because I'm thinking, okay, what are they gonna say? How are they gonna react? It was I kind of say it was kind of hard to tell them. And then I actually was I think 5 or 6 months before I even started showing. And then I'm like, okay, you can't hide this anymore. So I did end up telling my mom first. And I
Mhm.
think that my dad kind of had an idea. And so when I had told her, of course, she had told him. And it was like 2 months later, he was here because I had him a few
Wow.
weeks early. Yeah.
Wow.
So it didn't,
What was the
it
challenging
seemed like
part
it
of
went
your
fast.
pregnancy?
Only thing I think I was just really tired. Like I was sleepy all the time. Like I would go to work and come home and maybe eat something and go right to sleep. Like I was exhausted. Like he just drained the energy out of me. And
Hmm.
I really didn't gain any weight till way toward the end. So that wasn't too bad.
So I guess why did he come early then? Was there anything that was going on, or he was just like, listen, I'm ready to be out here. I want to meet everybody.
Yeah, he was just ready because the doctor told me I was not due until I want to say mid-January, and I end up having him December 22nd, so a few days before Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And he was full weight, everything was developed, and no problem.
Wow. That is so crazy because some babies, when they come out that early, they have all these different things that are going on with them. But he came out just perfect. Like he was just supposed to be here. You think that, did you ever stop to think like, did that doctor really have the right timing on this?
That's what I thought too, but when I did my own calculations, I'm like, well, it was right in between whatever timeline would have been, so it wasn't too far off. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the only
Well,
thing he
shoot.
had issues with, we found out later on, was asthma, and we've been, taking care of that throughout the years, and that's been controlled. So yeah, he came out darn near perfect.
Wow. Does he still have asthma? Is that something that he outgrew?
Yeah, he does still have it, but it only really bothers him through like weather changes through the seasons and stuff like that. And
Oh,
since
okay.
we have really been an advocate for health on asthma and stuff, he really takes care of it, gets right on top of it if he first sign of anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that young, having been pregnant, finding yourself pregnant, did you have any type of a birthing plan? Did anybody give you any bright ideas on what to do, home birth versus going to the hospital?
Not at all, because when I went to the doctor, I just went to one of the hospital's local clinics, and I just knew I was going to be in the hospital having them. Didn't even think about at home anything. I probably would have threw my mom for a whole loop if I had said something like that. She probably would have been like, "Where? How?"
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah.
lot of
So to
people
me,
aren't
I'm like,
really into that. I,
yeah.
I would have
Nowadays, I
loved
think
that.
they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Nowadays,
know.
I
I think
think
I would
they're
have been
getting like a
scared.
doula and they're going the whole nine. They're doing a home birth. They're having all this candles and dim lighting. And like they really just setting the mood for this child to come into the world peaceful. And so, yeah, they're all
Yeah.
into it now. I would have loved a home birth, to be honest.
I don't know. I think I would have been afraid of, not saying that you want something to happen, but just in case, that to ensure that there's a medical personnel, like, I don't know, in case of emergency, worst case scenario, anything, that my baby would be cared for immediately to get like the help that they would have needed right away. I don't know. At that time, I didn't even think about home births, but I've seen lots of them lately, and I'm like, that does seem like a nice, peaceful, quiet setting in the
Yeah.
privacy of your own home. Yeah.
Yeah. Absent of all the eyes and the teaching, the students that are being taught, just staring all into your lady business.
Yeah, but I was thankful when I had my first son. It was a team of women who helped deliver him. So I was like, okay. And I feel like I really had a good support system. It was my sister there, my cousin was there, and then all these other women. So I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. He had a whole little village while he was coming into the world.
Yeah.
So now you've pushed. What was that like? That just getting him out process. Was it traumatic?
Um, it was definitely something, of course, I had never been through before, and I compare everything to childbirth now. So,
Right.
right, his interest into the world was pretty quickly. 2 hours and he was here, and that from the time I got to the hospital to the time they were cutting the cord, it was literally 2 hours.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I didn't have to push very much. So I'm thankful of that. There was pain involved. I do know that. And so I'm like, okay, one of my best friends at the time, she got pregnant after I did. So I got to tell her my birthing experience. And I think I was maybe a little too subtle for her, because when she gave birth, she was mad at me.
But you made it sound too easy.
I must have, because she was like, it didn't go anything like you said. It was so much pain. She was in labor for umpteen hours. And I was like, oh no, I'm sorry. I know that everybody's
Yeah. I
different, but I
mean, but
didn't
every
expect
woman is
that.
different, though. She had to know that.
Yeah, I think she heard some horror stories after the fact. And I was like, oh no.
Oh, poor baby. She
Right.
went in there with a whole mindset like, oh, yeah, I got this. And then the
Yeah.
reality of it was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't got this.
Nothing at all. Like she thought I was going to go. So I'm like, oops.
Oh,
Yeah.
so now you've pushed. It was easy breezy. And your baby, you saw him for the first time. You held him in your arms. Were they doing skin to skin back then?
I don't think they called it that, but we did do that. And then the nurse asked me like, what was his name? And believe it or not, I hadn't even picked out a name. I didn't have a clue. And when I looked at him, I don't know, he just looked like a Christopher, and that's what I called him.
Well,
I was like,
hey,
okay.
some people really wait and like intentionally do that until the baby is born. They say, no, I'm not gonna name until I see the face and meet them, and then I'll do it then. And then, of course, in other
Mm-hmm.
countries, they have these elaborate naming ceremonies. I actually wanted my
Oh,
kids to
wow.
do that. Yeah, I thought
Mm-hmm.
those were cool. Like they and their partner would pick the name and then come to my house, and then we'll have food and drinks and we'll celebrate, and then they will advertise the name for everybody. None of them went my way. They just
That
blurted out
sounds
the
fun.
names, and I was like, man, I was trying to make this special.
Like, hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah, I just, I guess you adapt some things from other cultures because I think you should celebrate, the babies and you should give them space. And I think parents should. I don't know. I think as a Mimi, I feel like some things I should be able to implement, but that's also
Mhm.
not going my way.
Well, we get to suggest some things sometimes, but ultimately the decision is not ours. And I hear that 100%. I agree.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've definitely heard the baby's name is blah 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 for a reason. It's because it's my baby, not yours. So I'm like, you don't
Okay.
even have to ask who said that. We already know.
That's okay. Well, yeah, it happens like that sometimes.
I mean, hey, it didn't hurt my feelings. I just want the babies to be all right.
All right.
So
I
when you
hear
were
you.
holding,
Just
so when
healthy.
you were holding Christopher in your arms, what were you thinking? Like, were you nervous? Were you scared?
My thought process did go, wow, I'm a mom now. Like my whole everything's gonna change. Like when I leave this hospital, when I go home, I'm having a whole new life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, not only am I living for myself, but now I'm living for me and another person to support.
Yeah.
And that was really a lot to take in initially, like, and of course being that young, because like now I would not encourage anybody to start a family at that age, single or together. And I'm like, that's kind of early. Just wait as long as you can.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And at that time, you're becoming an adult, you're trying to get your independence, you're trying to while out in the streets with your friends. And now you're like, oh, I can't do any of those things. Or could you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I knew that my mom, I think we had an understanding that, yes, she would watch him, but while I went to work, all
Mm-hmm.
the extracurricular stuff, yeah, you're gonna have to find your own babysitter for that. So, and that was, I don't guess that was kind of like unspoken. We did discuss while I worked, but anything after that, yeah, I think that was, like you already know what's gonna happen here.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have a problem with that because I'm like, okay, this is my baby, this is my responsibility. Whatever I do is going to have to include him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful I did have a good support system, not only my parents, but like family and friends as well, because it was really crazy how I was the first one to have a kid in our bunch. But it was like after I had my son, that's like boom, boom.
Oh, so
Everybody else,
you were the bad influence.
no, ma'am, not at all. I was not. I will not take credit for that one. No, but it's like my son was born, and then like 6 months later, um, you know what? Probably not even 6 months. I think 4 or 5 months later, my sister had my nephew. My best friend had her son 2 days later. Then a couple months after that, one of our other best friends had a baby, and it was like, oh, okay. We all went to school together. We all hung out together. Now all our kids are going to be the same age.
The dam
And
broke,
I
huh?
was like, wow, hey, a little bit. It had a crack in it. I
That is
was
so
like, oh,
funny.
okay.
Oh my gosh. So, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make becoming a mother? Because
um,
it seemed like you had some kind of a balance with your social life, your work life, and then being a mother. It seems like you had a good balance. So,
yeah, I think the main thing was getting rest because although I think he did spoil me, he was a good baby, but I was up all night. Like he didn't have a sleep schedule. So like
mhm.
every 2 hours I was up and I was like, man, I'm tired. Man, I'm tired. Man, I'm tired. And it's because I wasn't getting any rest. So I'm
Mhm.
like, well, and then of course I'm working during the day and then up every 2 hours at night. And then a couple months in, the pediatrician, the doctor, helped me get him on a sleep schedule. So initially it was being tired a lot because I'm like, yeah, this motherhood thing ain't no joke.
Yeah.
So
Oh, for
yeah.
sure. You got to be, you got to balance everything. You got to try and be present for everything. You have to try and,
Mm-hmm.
even though you're tired and you're sleep deprived, you have to figure out how you don't take it out on the world.
Yeah, right. Oh, right. Oh my goodness, yes.
I
So
wasn't
that
that
that was a
young
big thing
when
trying
I
not
had my
to.
kids. I was like 22. So I think I had a little more leeway than you, but it was still
Hmm.
a good eye opener for me. I was like, what?
Yeah, it totally changes everything.
And I think for me, that scary part was when after the baby was out, I'm like, okay, cool, we're all done. She's like, okay, I'm gonna need you to push again. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? Wait, is there another baby in there? What do you mean push again? I'm like, why are we pushing? Like, what's happening here? You know? She's
Hmm.
like, oh, I need
Right.
to get the placenta out. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, definitely. And they said, this is gonna hurt worse than having a baby. I'm like, wait a minute, why?
Right. I'm like, I did not have drugs when I gave birth to this baby. So you're trying to tell me that this is going to be worse than what I just experienced? Yeah. She was
Yeah,
like, oh, yeah, we need to get that out. You know, it's going to make you sick. And man, when that thing came out, I sat there looking at it like, that was an
exactly.
experience.
Yeah, because I mean, even though like there were, I guess, like some videos and stuff out there of women having babies, I'd never seen any of that. I didn't watch any of
I
that.
didn't watch
Even
any either. And they definitely wasn't showing that in a sixth grade film. You know,
right at all, at all. Like what the heck? So
I think if they
that was
incorporate
definitely
that,
new.
that would cut down on teen pregnancies.
Possibly that might show like the real woman going through the 18 hours of excruciating birth, and then this
And
is
that's
without the
just
pain medicine.
not even for everybody. Some people go in longer. They're in labor longer than 18 hours. Like, even though I think that was an extreme. But I was like you, when I went into the hospital with each of my three kids, I was delivered within 2 hours of me arriving. So I
Yeah.
was like, thank you,
I was like,
Jesus.
I'm thinking like the people are like, oh, I was in the and what she say? I want to say one of my friends said she was in labor. I'm just gonna take my sister, my youngest sister. She was in labor for almost 2 days, and I'm like, why? What is wrong with the
Oh,
doctor? Like that's stress on the baby. It's that's not healthy, is it? I said, I
I
don't think
know.
that. My mom was livid. She was mad at the lady, just asking her, what are we still waiting for? And I mean, she had a billion questions, but I'm just like, yeah, that's too much.
Yeah, I was actually with Nina. I went in there and there was like, oh yeah, you're not fully dilated yet, and I was like, I'm not leaving here without my baby.
Yeah.
They gave me the pitocin. It was like, well,
Oh
she's close
no.
enough. It was like, she's
Yeah, I
close
never had to
enough.
have any of that, thank God.
Yeah, I
Mm-mm.
mean, I it's only because I was being a, you know,
A persistent parent. That's okay.
yes, that's the word. Because I was searching in my head like, what's appropriate. I
Yes.
was like, I had
Anxious.
to take over spirit. I was like, listen, these pains are coming fast and furious, 5 minutes apart. I am not going back home. I'm not leaving this hospital without my baby. So do whatever you guys need to do to make this happen. With my list.
Right? Yeah. That's
It
okay.
made it
We know they
happen.
had an agenda.
Yep.
Hmm.
They gave me that Pitocin at about 10:30, and about 10:45, she was here.
There you go.
I just pushed her out because I was like, okay, I remembered what the nurse said from the first baby. And I was like, here we go. I know
Mhm.
what I'm doing. I was like, I got this.
I think I still needed some help. I don't know if I was even ready. Even when having my second one, I went for a doctor appointment. I literally was at the doctor's office, and when the doctor checked me, he said, "Well, how are you feeling?" I said, "I'm fine. I'm just having a little back pain. That's all." Thinking I had Braxton Hicks or whatever with
Mhm.
Chris, and so he said, "Oh no, we're going to take you over to the hospital. You're not going home." And I'm like, "What?" This is at 9 o'clock in the morning. My appointment was. Oh no, you're in he said, you're in labor and you're at a 6. And I'm like, what? Here I'm thinking like I wasn't feeling anything. And they literally said, you have to call somebody if you want them to come up with you to come right now. Didn't have time for
Damn.
any of that. No.
Wow. So
Yeah.
they
So I was
drove
like,
you in the
oh,
ambulance to the hospital?
No, at that time, I went to one of the local OSF hospitals. It was called St. Francis back then, and there was a tunnel underneath because the clinic was right across the street from the hospital. And
Oh,
you
okay.
just got on the elevator, went down. They wheelchaired me over to the hospital and took me up to labor and delivery. Yep. No, we didn't. They didn't
You could have
waste
been
any
in the
time. Oh no,
store just
oh,
minding your business and water would break and you'd be like, oh, oh no.
that did happen.
Oh,
That did happen.
I was gonna say, oh
Yeah.
no, oh no, oh no, 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 no.
Oh, right. Yep. Because I'm like, what the heck is happening here? But yeah, I was shopping when I had Reese when that happened.
Oh my goodness. So you had drama getting to the hospital.
No, I did not actually. Okay, but I don't say I was a pro by this time, but she was the last one. And I was at Kmart shopping for the kids. And I'm walking, and all of a sudden, you get this little wetness. And I'm like, why do I have to go to the bathroom? What's happening? And I took a few more steps, and here it comes flowing down. I was like, oh my goodness. So I just go to the bathroom immediately, call my husband. I'm like, okay, I think my water just broke. You got to come get me. I'm at Kmart because, it's a mess in here, literally. And so he was at work. At the time, he was working for a delivery company. He wasn't even in Peoria. So I was like, okay, never mind. I'll just call my sister. I'm sure she can get here sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I called the wrong sister because she was slower than Dick's hat band. And so I was just like, I'm tired of waiting. I was in the bathroom for like 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm just going home. I'm just going to drive myself. I'm going to ask for a plastic bag so I can put on my seat. I'm just going to go home. Can you hold my cart? I'm going to be back. I did tell him that.
Can you hold
So
my
I pushed my
cart?
cart up to the service desk. I did. Took it to the service desk. They gave me a plastic bag. I went home, showered. I called my doctor. I mean, I wasn't in like any labor or anything like that. My water had just broke.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, okay, well, if you start having contractions, then call me back. So I'm like, oh, okay, so I can go back to the store and get my cart. I can finish shopping. And I did. And I had some people upset with me, but I'm
So
like,
was your cart
they
still
got my
there?
stuff. I can't go back shopping for that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh
hmm
wow.
I went finish shopping and paid for my stuff and went back home. By the time I got home, then that's when my husband at the time, Sean, that's when he had made it to the house in a panic. I'm like, it's fine. I'm not in labor yet. Just like my
Right.
water just broke. Yeah, so
Yes.
I,
And
I
some
think I probably
people
scared
water
him
can
telling him
broke.
that.
Yeah. And some people's water can be broken and they don't go into labor for hours.
hmm
They had to
Yeah,
break
and that.
mine each time.
Well, they had to do that with Chris, Darius, and Nicole. But with Kyra, I was just at home and I was laying on the couch. I had a white and cream color striped couch, and something just said stand up. As soon as I stood up, it probably went up a guy. As soon as I stood up, my water broke. I was like, oh, my couch would have been messed up.
that's that's what
So
you're thinking about in that moment. Your couch.
definitely, I stood up. I was like, oh my God. And that was, I want to say, I was up late. It was like 2 a.m. watching TV and ended up having to go to the hospital. I had her at 4 a.m. So that was like super quick.
Wow. Yeah, that was super quick. But hey, we like them quick ones. We definitely don't want to be in there for no 18 hours.
Oh, not at all. And then having my kids, I didn't even think about like, oh, I could be here for like till tomorrow, still pushing. I'm like, okay, no, I didn't even,
Yeah,
everything
no,
happened
ain't
so fast. I
nobody
never thought
signing
about
up for
that.
that at all. So what's the most
Didn't want
rewarding
to.
part of being a mother and why?
Um, I don't know. I'm like just watching them all grow up and do something different and just seeing the individual personalities. Of course, they all have their ups and downs, but
Mhm.
we all have a proud parent moment. And it's just like those proud moments just make it all worth it. Just, oh, look what I did. Or like, look what I made.
Yeah.
So that's kind of,
How has it changed you as a person?
um, I don't think I've changed in a few different ways because some people say, well, you talk to me like I'm one of the kids. And I'm like, okay, I got to get out of that habit because it's more of them than it was of me. So, of course, you get into a certain I don't want to say mindset, but a certain way of teaching and talking. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, okay, you can't do that with everybody. So
Right.
I had to really think sometimes how I wanted to word stuff, how I wanted to say it so nobody would feel like I'm like down talking them or making them feel little because I'm breaking it down. I call it kindergarten style every time
Right.
because I'm like, you got it with children, you got to keep it basic, you got to keep it simple and specific. And I have learned that a lot, that details help. So I'm a very detailed person now because I think that that helps in a good way though, having like lots of details and being specific. So I think that's helped with being a better person in a big
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I think that definitely helps. And I think, like, would you say like your life is fuller now that you have been a mother for this length of time?
I would say, and then like I said before, I would not encourage people to have children at a young age. But I
Mhm.
think since I did have mine like early on, and although I am older, I still feel like I have a lot of life left to do other things. And my kids are all adults, basically like living a good life. And then um, with me having the grand boys, I'm like, that changes you as a person too. And so I'm like, I
Yeah.
get to enjoy them without being like 80.
What true? Yeah, I was gonna ask how being a Gigi now, it's definitely different than being a mom. So what's the contrast between a being a mom and being a Gigi now?
I don't know because I know I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I didn't think I had changed as a Gigi. But all the kids say, "Well, where did this lady come from?" And then it's funny because I would say that about my mom because I'm like, "That's not the same mom that took care of us. That's not the same mom that was telling us that we could or couldn't do this or that." But to me, I was like, "Well, I don't have any favorites. I think I just try to treat all of them the same. Like, no, mom, you have given some leeway with them that you wouldn't have with us." But I did learn that just raising children's style has changed. So
Mhm.
your mindset does have to change, not even only with yours, but with your grandkids and with other people's children too. And then with my best friend, one of them, she would say, if she watched her kids, she's like, I whoop other people's kids. So if you bring your kids here and they're going to misbehave, they're going to get disciplined just like mine. And
For
so she said, I don't
sure.
discriminate. So I'm like, okay, when you discipline and you want to try to teach them, all that style should be the same. Even though kids learn differently, I learned that kids learn by repetition. You just got to keep repeating it and they will pick it up. It might not be as fast as you want them to, but that's where the patience come in. That's where the understanding comes in. And I try to have a little more of that with the grandkids as I did with my kids. And it just seems like nowadays some of the kids are learning faster, but they're more strong willed. So having that patience and understanding will balance out because of their personality, I think.
Yeah. And I definitely think parenting has changed since we've been having babies. Folks aren't giving the babies warm bottles anymore, and that bugs me.
Right. I'm like, just shake it and give it. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Don't you got to heat that up a little bit?
It's like
No.
listen, I hope the mamas don't come for me, but like there's not as much effort as we used to put into it.
I want to say they're making it seem like it's like super duper easy. All you got to do is blah, blah, blah. But okay, that might be all you got to do is, but I think it should take a little more effort. They are making it look like it's so easy and so this and so that. I'm like, I don't know if I agree with all of that. But yeah, it's definitely changed.
I think they have more resources than we did for sure, because when I could not produce milk, I wish I had all of the different things that they have now. I wish I had that then to increase my milk supply. So that was one of the things that I I'm happy that they have that now, because it I think it really affected me mentally that I couldn't produce
Mm-hmm.
my child because I felt like I was a bad mother because my body wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. And so that I think I
Oh,
might have went into like a small depression each time. And it was like each time I could not breastfeed past 2 months.
Oh, no, I didn't even breastfeeding wasn't even on the table. I'm like, we're gonna get these bottles and we're gonna get this formula and we're gonna call it a day because I'm like, it's hard enough doing this, that, and the other. And I'm like, breastfeeding too? Nah. So I didn't even think about that part. But I do understand that my daughter had issue with baby number two producing enough milk. And I remember one time sent me a picture of the little bottle when she pumped. She's like, look, I got 8 ounces this time. She was so excited and I laughed so hard. I was like, oh, she was
Hmm.
really putting forth an effort to do that. And then she
Oh,
did find
yeah.
out stuff she could take to produce more milk.
And the thing is, people just don't know how hard that is. It takes a long time to pump out that much. And then sometimes, people waste it. Like I have somebody that's very close to me that she was trying to pump that milk out and save it, and somebody used it and she about lost her mind. She was like, listen, I was saving that. Like, you have
Yeah,
to,
I
yeah,
understand.
it takes a long time. It
It's
takes a
that's
long time to
important.
pump
Yeah.
that out. Or for God forbid, spill it.
Oh
Oh my
wow,
gosh.
yeah. And that's literally crying over spilled milk.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. I almost spilled pumped milk. It's
Oh,
definitely a
right.
harder job than getting it from the store. That's for sure. So, what's the best advice that you've ever received about motherhood, and how has it impacted you?
Um, I want to say it was probably while I was pregnant with my first son, a girl that I was going to church with. She did tell me how my life was going to change and I was going to have to start living my life for my child too. And then at first I thought, well, why would that be when it's still me and I'm still going to have to do like most of the stuff I was doing before? But when I realized the magnitude of what she was really saying, it really made sense when I grasped the whole concept.
Mm-hmm.
And so that opened my eyes to reality of what was actually going to happen. And so that made me look at things totally different. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what I really got to do now. I'm really going to be a mom. And this is
Yeah.
how it's going to change.
Did you pass that down to your daughter?
Um, I don't know if I told her those exact words, but I think later on after she had her first son about how she needed to do things a little differently, I probably worded it something differently, but I don't think I presented it to her like it was presented to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I've told her since she's had the second one because he is something else. He is a challenge for sure about how things need to go differently. And she needs to save some of her energy for this other one because he is really, I said, this is going to be your tester right here. And so I'm like, okay, you got to open your eyes a little more and see how things are really going to go because, yeah, motherhood is definitely a challenge in itself.
It definitely is. And I always say it seems like a thankless job because you do all these different things. You first of all, you change your entire life. People makes it seem like, yeah, you're carrying this belly, it's easy. It is not easy to create life. It might be easy to get
Hmm.
life there, but once the life is there, it is not easy. It is a entire mental case. You're thinking constantly if the babies are gonna be okay. I don't know about you, but I kept like shaking my stomach to like make sure the baby moved every day. It's like every day you have
Hmm.
this thing that you want to make sure that this kid is all right. And then you go to the doctor's visits. You never paid attention in school, but all of a sudden you're front and center. You want to know everything that's going on. It takes a toll on you mentally as well as physically. And so
Hmm.
sometimes we do make it look easy, just carrying a baby, but it's not easy at all because there's so many women that don't carry to term. And there's so many women that would carry to term, and unfortunately they would have stillborns. So it's my mom said, carrying a child is 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot out. And I hated that she
Hmm.
told me that when I was having my first child, but it
Yeah.
is it is absolutely it's true tea. It is facts because
Yeah,
sometimes
that
the
is
mother
true.
doesn't make it either.
Yeah, because that is like my natural grandmother on my father's side. He was one of four, So his mom had my aunt, then he had him, and then she gave birth to a set of twins. And then so one of my uncles and her did not make it. So yeah, I definitely understand that. So here my
Yeah.
grandpa is with three kids and no wife. And I was like,
Wow.
wow, that was really something.
That is crazy.
Didn't think about any of that when I was having my children, that my life could be at stake too. I didn't even think about that.
Well, only because my mother told me that you're in there with one foot in and one foot out of the grave that I was
Mhm.
thinking about that. But no, before that, I was definitely thinking that it would be more on the baby. But I guess we don't really think about how much stress we put on our bodies when we're having children. I mean, preeclampsia is a real thing. You know, you have all
Mhm.
these different things. Your body is open, it's open to everything. It's, infection, is I was definitely not thinking about my life being in jeopardy. I was solely focused on getting this baby cooked and getting it delivered
Mhm.
safely. And just
Right. You could
and just
even,
raising it. And even that car ride home, how was that for you? Because my nerves
um,
were wrecked.
I was excited to get home because with the first one, we got to come home on Christmas Day.
Mm,
So they went by exactly when you had the baby, and they went by a certain amount of hours or whatever to equal up a certain amount of days. So had him on the 22nd in the evening. So I got to come home Christmas night. So I was kind of excited to come home on Christmas Day with him. So that was the first one, was that was like, oh yes, we get to go home.
yeah,
Like,
that
I'm in
was
this
the
hospital
Christmas
all day.
present.
Let's go. It's Christmas. Basically, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so, they don't even keep folks that long anymore. They used to do 3 days, but if you've given birth, let's say this morning at 8 a.m., if everything turns out well, you can literally go home the next day.
Oh
You know,
yeah, I've seen that and I'm like, "What? You do what?" Because
yeah.
oh, when I did have my oldest son, my best friend's sister, she gave birth the next day or so to her daughter, and she got to go home before I did, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what?" I'm
Hmm.
like, "Oh yeah, she didn't have no problems." Or went home the same day. I don't know, it was really close together because I'm thinking, "Well, I've been here 3 days. Why is she getting to go home the same?" Like it was really weird. So I'm
Yeah.
like, "Wow." I'm like, "I didn't have any problems. She didn't have any problems either." So, but that wasn't her first one. That was her last one, and it was my first one. So I guess they were more um, leery with me than with her since she had
Yeah.
already had three others. I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
okay."
yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, when you have cesarean, I think they keep the standard for that one. But thank God I didn't have to have any of those.
Yeah, me either. Thank goodness. Yeah, that is. Mm, yeah, I did not.
Well, we didn't miss nothing, but I've heard the stories and I'm like, oh, well, thank God I didn't have to have one because I raised both of mine, my older ones alone. So I would have had to, my mom would have take care of me, but I wouldn't have wanted her to do that because I feel like
Mhm.
she wasn't in the process. So she shouldn't be doing the work. But I
Right.
think I think our mindset, I think your mindset was just like mine, where I never expected anyone outside of the parents to help me parent my child. Some
Yeah.
folks think that,
Yeah.
oh, I watched your kids when we were growing up, yeah, now I have a child. I feel you should be able to give me babysitting because I did that for you when when we were growing up. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way.
No, and even since my mom had a business, like that was her business, I paid a portion of daycare. Like, yeah, it wasn't just here you go because this is your grandson. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
well, I paid into that too. So it probably wasn't the full price like everybody else, but I did contribute because I'm like, this is still her business, her job.
Yeah. And that's really big of you to do that because some people would be like, shoot, it's your business. Let me just drop them off. You got all the kids there anyway. That's the mindset anyway.
Well, we did live there until I was 19. Yeah, I think it was when I was 19, I moved out and with no car. I had to take the bus with my son. So even to get to her house, I had to take the bus from my apartment to her house and then take another bus to go to work or school or whatever because I did start going back to school after I had him. So that was that was a chore. I'm like, but I mean, I knew it was something I needed and wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, your kids are all adults now. What lessons do you feel, what lessons did you teach that you hope your children have learned? And why is that important to you?
I think the lessons that I did teach that it looks like they grasped was just parenting in itself. Like, I don't want to say be careful who you have children with, but when you have a child, you have to make sure that this is what you really want and you're going to be available for them to do it, and how important being a good parent is because um, they grew up in a single parent household for most of their lives. And it's like, yeah, you had me and yeah, you had my parents, but look and see if you have a child, if this is how you want your child to grow up
Right.
and if this is the environment you want for them. So nobody had any children until, Kyra, and she was 20. And then so I said, well, if the rest of you guys aren't ready, just don't, you're not married yet, then don't worry about it. But the importance of being a good parent and having a stable household, that is what I try to let them see and teach them, that like this is the importance.
I really like that. So in essence, you're telling them, listen, you make sure you vet that person properly. You just can't just be out here just, having everybody's baby or getting just anybody pregnant, because there are some repercussions behind all of that.
Hmm. And I'm pretty sure I like scared Nicole when we were having, the talk and stuff. And she says, Mom, you told me everything what not to do. And I was so scared I wasn't going to do nothing. I was like, that's not what I meant, but it's what I meant.
Right.
So it just depends on how you say it or portray it and then how they receive it also. So I was like, she's like, I'm not having no kids.
Well, she's still holding true to that.
For
What's
the
your
moment, we'll see.
Out of all five of your kids, what is the most memorable moment and why was that special?
Oh, you mean like them growing up, what they would have done something or said something, or what do you mean?
Yep, just all encompassing.
Oh goodness, I don't know. It's like they all have done something. I can't think of one specific. I
Well,
do
good. Give
know.
me all of it then.
Okay, I do know. When Darius, when he was little, all he wanted to do was drink. He was super thirsty all the time. Um, he was learning to talk, and the only thing he kept saying is, "I want to drink. I want to drink," except for he couldn't say the R. So it was, "I want to dink. I want to dink." It's like that was his thing every day, all day. And I'm like, this boy, like, are you never ending on like, I don't know, like, what are you trying to fill? He was super thirsty all the time, and that was just like our thing. And it was just getting him something to drink every moment in his little sippy cup. That was the funniest thing. It was like, I don't know, the biggest impact. We joke about that even still all the time. And I'm like, I
That
don't
is
know,
so
they've all
funny.
done something. But I think that was the most memorable. That and my mom, we were trying to get Chris off the bottle. And at home, he was not taking a bottle, but at her house, he was. And I didn't know that until one day I got home from work, and she would put the bottle up like she had never done anything. And then I think one day either she forgot or he still had it or something. And so he whips out this bottle and was asking my mom to like put some milk in it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
wait a minute, where'd this come from? I thought we weren't doing bottles anymore. Oh, he's not ready. I just have one left. I'm like, oh no. Like what? Like you're just setting us back. What's going on? And she thought that was so
Yeah.
funny. Oh, it'll be okay. No, it's not. So I was like, wait a minute. Here I am thinking we're making progress and
Right.
surprise.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie. I did that with Vivi. I did that. They was trying to wean her off that pacifier, and I was like, here you go, baby.
Okay. Like, no, she wants it. It's okay. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm like, she just needs to go to sleep. It's all right. She'll outgrow it. She has plenty of time. She's only 2.
Yes, when she
Was like,
gets 5, we'll think about it.
it took her the longest to get off that pacifier. I believe I was the
Yeah,
bad influence in that situation.
uh, that does happen. So hey, we're
Yeah,
often guilty of
that
something.
was Mimi overstepping.
Well, see if she only got it at your house, and maybe, but
Yeah, it's not like she saw me every day. I don't think I did it every single day. I gave her a break, but hey, what the baby wants, the baby gets.
that yes, as a grandparent, I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
that's my mindset too. It's only just a little, or it'll only be this, or only be that. It's like we think of reasons why it's okay, and yeah, it's okay.
And then you got the parent just side eyeing you like, yeah, okay.
All right, yeah, Kyra, just, Mom, that's not what you did for us. I know, but it's okay.
Right. I was a
That's
different
all. It's
person back
okay.
then.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Oh, like the kids say, why are you bringing up old stuff?
There you go. That's a good one. I gotta use that one because Carissa will tell me that all the time. When I was younger, girl, times have changed, but okay.
Yeah, don't bring up old stuff. Well, before we close, what advice would you give to mothers who are just starting their journey or those that are transitioning from motherhood to maybe Mimihood or Gigihood or Yayahood? What advice do you have for the mamas?
I think I'm gonna go back to my patience and understanding because I used to think that I didn't have patience, but I had a lot of it and didn't really know it because it takes time, effort, and energy to stop, pay attention, and listen. So having that patience, you definitely have to slow down to accept and interpret all of that. So to have the patience to say, I can wait to either hear what they have to say, wait and see what's being done, have the understanding to listen and accept or even make the right choice or decision in a certain situation, you would definitely have to have all of that.
Mhm.
So that is a big thing for me because I always even try to tell my children if you wait and think about what you want to say before you say it, you might end up with a different outcome or different resolution. So having that, even because nowadays, children are a little more, I don't want to say stubborn, but they're a little more stubborn, resistant, mouthy, like you
Mhm.
name it, it's happening nowadays. So if you even just step back and wait, you still got to have that patience and you still got to understand because they need all of that. And they're learning from us because we should already have a level um, of course, maturity and patience and understanding already. And then we can portray to them that this is all you got to do. It might not be super hard, but it might take a little extra effort, but all you got to do is A, B, C, and then your outcome will be D, E, F, or whatever.
Right.
So just to me, just grasping the hold on a minute, take a breath or two. If you got to step away for 15, 20 minutes, gather yourself, let that baby calm down, or even if the baby's crying, having a tantrum, if it's doing something to you, separate yourself because
Mhm.
you might need to regroup as an adult, even as a teen mom or whatever it is. If you just got to wait and gather your bearings and then go back, that baby's going to be okay if it cries for 10, 15 minutes. That's okay. They're not going nowhere. They're just a little aggravated or upset.
Mhm.
Put them down, put her down, walk away. Then you can come back with a better attitude or a different mindset to rectify the problem, or like since you've regrouped, you'll have a different solution for the problem. You might even have a different mindset of how to calm the baby down or whatever the case may be. Or if the baby cried itself to sleep in 10 to 15 minutes, that's okay. Then when it wakes back up, then you're a whole new person because you've even had a little longer to calm down and regroup and gather yourself. So to me, just that patience and understanding, those are my two major things.
Well done. I love it. I love it. Yeah, just like you said, I didn't think I had it, but I actually did because Lainey is my first and she woke up every 3 hours on the dot, 3, 6, 9, and 12. And so I just rolled with it. I never complained. I don't feel like I lacked sleep. I was never like that anxious parent. I just did what needed to be done. So
Yeah,
having that patience definitely really works and having that understanding that babies will do what they do. Babies will
yeah, you're
baby.
right. That is all the time, every day, all day.
Yep. And so just how you manage, how you handle that is really awesome. But they have a lot of resources today though. They have all these little parenting classes and mommy and me classes that folks can attend and you just get some insight and all this white noise that they have for babies and baby Einstein, so that parents can really
Mhm.
just get their life together, gather themselves while the baby is getting a little something extra to calm them down as well. Because what people
Right.
don't realize too is babies pick up your energy. So if you're anxious, it's your fault the baby's crying. So, so
Oh,
once
they
you've
do. They
gathered
can sense
yourself,
stuff.
mhm,
Mhm.
once you've gathered yourself, then the baby will get its life.
That is true most times. Yeah, because they can tell, and they feed off of us too. So,
Hmm.
hey, and then you wonder
Literally,
why your child's running around yelling, and if you got high energy or your spirit is way up here, and you're just not, even if your voice is naturally loud, your
hmm,
child is going to pick up with that, and they're going to project themselves like that because they're thinking like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to talk, or this is how I'm supposed to act because this is what's happening at home. So, or if you're like more quiet and more reserved, you might have a more quieter child. So you just never know. They pick up on everything.
they do. They do, especially when they turn two, when they're picking up all your cuss words and stuff.
Oh Lord, they are the ultimate sponge. You are right.
And they don't forget it either. They do not. They
Mm-mm.
hold on to them little cuss words the entire time. Oh, well, Sharon, I really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence once again.
Oh, well, thank you. You too. I did enjoy it also. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. That's my Noreen girl. We got this.
Yep, we got this. Just like how we had them kids all them times. We've been friends for a very long time.
We have, let's see, what they're 28, 29. I always get
29
that
this
wrong.
year. Laney's going to be 29 in
Okay. Yeah.
September. And so I
And then
want to
it
say
has
they
it been
were
since they were
in
12?
middle school.
Yeah, seventh grade. Nikki started
Hmm.
Lincoln Roosevelt as seventh
Roosevelt.
grade. So I think it was 12. So that's
Yeah,
a
that's a
long
long
time.
time.
Yay.
That's a long
And
time.
that's good. And we've had excellent friendship and I love it.
Child, we done talked about everything. I think all of our conversations could have been a podcast episode.
We could add our own reality show. You're right.
Yep. Yep. The good, the bad, and the ugly, child. We have bared it all. But I'm glad that we were able to talk about motherhood today because, as mothers, we know the wins are hits and misses. And sometimes, like I said, it could be a thankless job, but it's all worth it in the end, especially when you see the success that you've helped your kids achieve. Because sometimes they think they got there on their own. They don't
Oh
understand
yeah.
that you got there because I was behind you. Yeah, I may not have had that kind of a support, but you have me. So
Hmm.
you could go out there and do what you need to do. And especially when they have children, be like, yeah, I'm not your living babysitter, but I have knowledge now because the times are
Right.
different. And I can help you navigate your parenting journey a little bit better than I was navigating mine.
Yeah, you're right. That is exactly right.
Yeah,
And just hope that they grasp and accept all of that we have to offer for them.
exactly. Well, we will talk another time, girlie. Peace and blessings.
Well, thank you and enjoy your Sunday.